Hello everyone, viewers. Have you ever had a close call? A moment where, for no logical reason, you hesitated for a split second, and that hesitation saved you from disaster. A sudden urge to take a different route home, only to later learn of a massive pile up on your usual path. Or perhaps, in a moment of profound loneliness and despair, you felt an inexplicable wave of peace wash over you. A feeling of not but ancient wisdom had only one: a guardian, an angel. For most of us, the image that comes to mind is a gentle, chubby-cheeked cherub with small, feathery wings sitting quietly on our shoulder. A passive, comforting presence from a children's storybook. But what if I told you that this popular image is a profound misunderstanding? What if the reality is something far more ancient, powerful, and even terrible? A sentinel assigned to you in a cosmic war you don't even know is being fought. Today, we're not just asking if guardian angels are real. We're asking what they truly are. Forget the greeting card images. We're going back to the source, to the ancient texts where these beings were not depicted as gentle friends, but as awesome, formidable forces of nature, capable of wrestling with mortals and wielding swords of fire. The answer might change the way you see the world, and your place in it forever. The story doesn't begin in a peaceful nursery. It begins at the gates of paradise, locked and barred. When Adam and Eve were exiled from the Garden of Eden, the scripture says God placed cherubim to guard the way to the tree of life. And what did they guard it with? A flaming sword which turned every way. This is our first real glimpse into the nature. They are armed, powerful, and tasked with enforcing a divine decree. This is a military posting. There is no gentleness here, only absolute, unwavering duty. Think about that image. A sword made of pure flame, constantly moving, a living weapon wielded by a being of immense power. This isn't a story for children. It is a scene of cosmic authority. Now let's travel forward in time. The text says, "A man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day." This was no friendly sparring match. It was a grueling all-night struggle that left Jacob permanently injured, with his hip out of joint. And who was this? Man Jacob himself realizes it at dawn, saying, "I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved." He wasn't wrestling a mere mortal. He was wrestling. This encounter was so profound, so physically and spiritually transformative, that it changed his name and the destiny of his people. The angel didn't just pat him on the back. It engaged him in a violent life, altering conflict to bestow a blessing. This is the nature of the angels we see in the early scriptures, powerful, physical, and capable of direct, forceful intervention. They are not ethereal wisps. So where did we get this idea of a vast, organized celestial force? For centuries, theologians and mystics have pieced together references from across the scriptures to understand the structure of this unseen realm. It is often described as a hierarchy, a celestial chain of command. Think of it not as a choir, but as an army with different ranks and specializations. At the top, close, they are the keepers of the divine fire, their very existence a song of praise. Below them, the cherubim, the guardians of sacred places, the ones with the flaming swords, beings of profound knowledge. Then come the thrones, often described as living wheels of light covered in eyes, representing divine justice and stability. These aren't beings you'd want to casually meet. Their very appearance would shatter our understanding of reality. The dominions, who regulate the duties of lower angels, the virtues, who oversee the movements of the cosmos, the very laws of nature, the powers, who are the frontline warriors against hostile spiritual forces. It is their specific duty to combat demonic influence. Notice the language: virtues, powers. These are words of action, of authority, of immense capability. Then come and finally, we reach the ranks most familiar to us. The archangels, the great messengers and commanders, like Michael, the great prince and warrior, who leads the heavenly armies. And at the very last, the angels themselves. The word angel itself simply means messenger. These are the beings who interact most directly with humanity. They are the foot soldiers, the special envoys, the field. So when we talk about a guardian angel, we are not talking about a lone independent agent. We are talking about a commissioned officer, a soldier who is part of a vast, intricate, and supremely powerful military structure. They have a chain of command, a specific mission, and access to unimaginable power. This context is everything. Your guardian is not a freelancer. They are a representative of the entire kingdom of heaven. If you are finding this exploration into the unseen world fascinating, take a moment to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what is coming next. Because this is where the mission becomes personal, the central pillar for the belief in a personal guardian angel. The specific assignment of one celestial being to one human soul comes from the lips of Jesus himself. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 10, he delivers it, "For I tell you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven." Stop and unpack that. This is not a parable. It is stated as a direct fact. He doesn't say they have a nice feeling or they are looked after. He says, their angels, the language is possessive. It implies a specific one. To one assignment each soul is accounted for. And what are these angels doing? They are always. This means they have a direct, unbroken line of communication to the ultimate source of power and authority. They are not just watching over the child, they are simultaneously in the throne room of heaven, representing that child. This isn't passive babysitting. This is active, high-level celestial representation. It implies that every single person, from the most humble to the most powerful, has a dedicated being of light. It's an assignment, a sacred trust. Your life, your soul, is the mission. But what does that mission look like in practice? Let's look at the evidence. In the Acts of the Apostles, we find one of the most dramatic angelic interventions in the entire Bible. The Apostle Peter has been arrested by King Herod. He is not just in a normal jail. He is in a maximum security situation. He is bound with 2 chains. Herod plans to execute him the next day. All hope seems lost. And then, in the middle of the night, Scripture says, an angel of the Lord stood next to him, and a light shone in the cell. The angel doesn't whisper advice, it acts. It strikes Peter on the side to wake him up and commands, "Get up quickly." And as Peter stands, the 2 heavy iron chains literally fall off his wrists. The angel then leads him past the first guard. Finally, they come to the massive iron gate leading into the city. This is the final barrier, and the text says the gate opened for them of its own accord. This wasn't just an escape, it was a demonstration of absolute power over the physical world. Chains, guards, locked iron gates, they are meaningless obstacles to a being operating on a higher plane of existence. The angel didn't just unlock the gate. Peter thought he was dreaming, that it was all a vision, until he was standing free in the street and the angel departed. This is a guardian angel in action. It is not a gentle suggestion, it is a physical extraction from an impossible situation. This is a special forces raid conducted by a single celestial operative. So this brings us to the central agonizing question. If these beings are so powerful, if they can make change, if I have a celestial bodyguard with this level of power, why do I still get hurt? This is the paradox that tests the faith of millions. It's the question that makes many dismiss the entire idea as a childish fantasy. If the protector is real, why isn't the protection perfect? The answer is not simple, but it is profound. To understand the guardian, we must first understand the enemy and the nature of the war they are fighting. In the book of Revelation, chapter 12, we get a stunning glimpse of this conflict. Now war arose in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon. And the dragon and his angels fought back, but he was defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. This wasn't a philosophical debate. It was a war, a real cosmic battle for control. The dragon identified as Satan, and a third of the scripture says they were thrown down to the earth. This means that our world became the primary battlefield in this ongoing war. The conflict didn't end, it just changed location. Our reality, our lives, our very souls became the contested territory. This is the critical piece of the puzzle that is so often missing from the modern sanitized version of Christianity. We are living in an occupied war zone, and the enemy is not a... The Apostle Paul describes this enemy with chilling clarity in his letter to the Ephesians. He says, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." This is not a metaphor for our inner struggles. Paul is describing a literal organized enemy hierarchy. It mirrors the angelic hierarchy. It's a shadow army, a kingdom of darkness with its own chain of command. And what are their tactics? Overt demonic possession is rare, the stuff of horror movies. Their primary weapons are far more subtle and far more effective: deception, temptation, accusation, despair, confusion, pride, fear. They are masters of psychological warfare. They don't need to break, they whisper lies that sound like your own thoughts. They amplify your deepest insecurities. They twist your desires into obsessions. They create division between people, between nations. They sow chaos and then feed on the despair it creates. This is the enemy your guardian angel is fighting. It's not a simple physical threat. It is a constant, insidious, and intelligent assault on your mind. For 40 days, Satan assails him using scripture, twisting logic, offering power, appealing to his physical hunger and his divine identity. It is a masterclass in psychological manipulation. Jesus fights him not with legions of angels, but with his own will, his own knowledge of scripture, his own unwavering commitment to his Father. And what happens the moment the battle is won, the moment Satan finally flees? This is a crucial detail. The angels didn't fight the battle for him. They were there, waiting, watching. But the choice, the struggle, the victory had to belong to Jesus himself. Once his will was proven, once the enemy was repelled by his own strength of character, the angels immediately moved in to provide comfort, aid, and restoration. This single event reveals the fundamental rule of engagement in this entire spiritual. It is the one principle that God himself holds sacrosanct, and it is the key to understanding why the world is the way it is. The principle is human free will. This is the game changer. This is the clause in the cosmic contract that explains everything. When humanity was created, we were given the most powerful and dangerous gift in the universe, the freedom to choose. We can choose to love or to hate. To create. God will not, and the angels cannot, force us to make the right choices. They cannot turn us into puppets, even for our own good. Our will is sovereign territory. A guardian angel is like the most advanced bodyguard imaginable. They can see threats we can't see. They can deflect attacks we don't even know are coming. They can fight battles on our behalf in realms we cannot perceive. They can whisper warnings to us, but they cannot override a direct order from the person they are assigned to protect. If we choose to ignore the warning, if we choose to walk willingly into danger, if we choose to align ourselves with the very forces they are fighting against, their hands are tied. They can plead, they can warn, they can try to mitigate the damage, but they cannot stop us from choosing our own destruction. This is why the enemy's primary tactic is deception. They don't need to. They convince you that the poison is actually medicine. They convince you that the path to ruin is the path to freedom. Every time we choose selfishness over charity, pride over humility, despair over hope, we are essentially siding with the enemy. We are willingly stepping out from behind our protector and walking into enemy fire. This is a sobering, even terrifying thought, but it is also incredibly empowering. It means they either open the door for our guardian to act with greater force, or they chain our guardian's hands and invite darkness in. So how do we open that door? How do we give our guardian the authorization to intervene more powerfully in our lives? The answer is surprisingly simple, yet profoundly misunderstood. The answer is prayer. We often think of prayer as a passive wish list we send up to heaven, hoping for the best. But in the context of this, prayer is a conscious alignment of our will with the divine will. It is us from the battlefield of our lives giving our celestial guardian the explicit permission to act. When you pray for protection, you are not just hoping someone is listening. You are actively authorizing your angel to engage the enemy. You are saying, I choose God's side, I grant you permission to intervene, defend this territory. It is like a soldier in a forward. The power is there waiting in the heavens, but it requires the man on the ground to identify the target and give the command. This reframes the entire purpose of prayer. It is not about changing God's mind. It is about aligning our own. It is about exercising our free will to choose a divine alliance, thereby untying the hands of our protectors. This is why consistent prayer is so emphasized. It is about constantly reinforcing our allegiance, constantly renewing the permissions we give to our guardians to act on our behalf. When we neglect prayer, when we live our lives as if we are completely on our own, we are essentially telling our guardian to stand down. We are choosing to fight the war alone, with our own limited strength and perception, against an enemy that is ancient, brilliant, and utterly ruthless. These were not just theoretical beliefs for them, it was a daily lived reality. Take St. Padre Pio, a 20th century mystic and priest. People who knew him said he lived as much in the invisible world as in the visible one. He spoke of his guardian angel as his closest friend and companion. He claimed that his angel would wake him up in the morning, pray with him, and even act as a translator for him. When people would send him letters, he often spoke of seeing the guardian angels of other people and would advise them to listen to their angel's guidance. For Padre Pio, his angel was not just a protector, but an active collaborator in his ministry. He famously told people, "If you need me, send your guardian angel to me." And he claimed that he would receive these angelic messages constantly throughout the day. This sounds incredible, like a He also bore the stigmata, the wounds of Christ, and reported being physically assaulted by demonic forces on a regular basis. His life was a constant battle. In this context, his reliance on his guardian angel was not a quaint piety, it was a military necessity. He was a soldier on the front lines who depended on his celestial brother, in arms for survival. Or consider Saint Gemma Galgani, an Italian. She claimed to see and interact with her guardian angel daily. She would entrust her angel with errands, most famously to deliver letters. She would write a letter, place it in a designated spot, and ask her angel to deliver it to her confessor in Rome, and her confessor would receive the letter, seemingly out of thin air. This happened multiple times. Her angel, she said, was her teacher. It would chide her for her faults, prepare her for spiritual trials, and physically shield her from demonic attacks, which she also reported suffering. What these stories, and many others like them, show us is a level of interaction with the angelic world that seems almost alien to our modern sensibilities. But what if they are not the exception, but the demonstration of what is possible? What if they simply took the reality? They understood that their choices, their prayers, and their explicit trust were the keys that unlocked a deeper level of angelic partnership. They treated their angels not as imaginary friends, but as the real, powerful, and present beings that Scripture says they are. And so they experienced a reality in which that was demonstrably true. This brings us full circle, back to our original question. We've journeyed from a flaming sword at the gates of Eden to a jailbreak in Jerusalem, from a cosmic war in heaven to the subtle, psychological battles fought in the human heart. We've seen that these beings are not gentle cherubs, but powerful warriors, part of a vast celestial army. We've learned that their intervention is not limited by their power, but by our own free will now. Let's address the language of our time. This is modern terminology, an attempt to describe an ancient reality with the language of physics and metaphysics, and in a way, it's remarkably accurate. How are angels described in Scripture? They are beings of light, a light so brilliant, it terrified the guards at Christ's tomb. When the angel appeared to the shepherds to announce the birth of Jesus, the glory of the Lord shone around them. The seraphim are literally the burning ones. The altar in Isaiah's vision is cleansed with a burning coal delivered by an angel. They move with impossible speed, appearing and disappearing in an instant. They are not bound by our physical laws. They are not made of matter in the way we are. So to call them energetic beings is not far off the mark. They are beings of a higher, more powerful frequency of existence. They operate on a plane of existence that intersects with ours, but is not limited by it. This is why their actions can seem like miracles or violations of natural law to us. The iron gate opening on its own accord for Peter was not magic. It was a higher reality momentarily imposing its will on our lower physical reality. The angel was simply operating according to the physics of its own nature. Is it just your subconscious mind processing data, or is it a whisper from a being who sees the whole chessboard, who sees the enemy's move you are about to walk into? Is it your guardian, bound by the rules of engagement, unable to grab you and pull you back, but doing everything within its power to warn you, sending a signal, a thought, a feeling, a sudden sense of unease, a burst of energy, a transmission from a higher dimension? And when you are at your lowest point, feeling utterly crushed and alone, and that unexplainable wave of peace and comfort washes over you, what is that? Is it just a chemical reaction in your brain, a psychological coping mechanism? Or is it the real, tangible presence of your sentinel, your protector who has been with you all along, a being of light and love who, in your moment of surrender and pain, is finally able to get through the noise and static of your fear and doubt, and minister to you just as the angels ministered to Christ in the desert after his great trial. The evidence, woven through thousands of years of scripture, testimony, and human experience, points to a staggering conclusion. The guardian angel is not a myth. It is not a fairy. It is a profound spiritual reality, more complex, more powerful, and more intimately tied to our own choices than most of us have ever dared to imagine. It seems we have not been left alone in this world. We are not fighting our battles unaided. From the moment of our birth, we are each assigned a sentinel, a warrior of light, a messenger from the throne room of heaven, a friend and a protector who knows us better than we know ourselves, and who it is our choice, our trust, our prayer. The real question is not whether they are real. The real question is, have we ever acknowledged them? Have we ever spoken to them? Have we ever thanked them? Have we ever consciously and willingly invited them to take their post and stand their watch over our lives? Perhaps that feeling of being watched isn't paranoia. Perhaps it is the simple truth. You have a guardian, a sentinel, a watcher, and they have been waiting for you to